We're on. Oh, here we go. Hey, everybody. It's Laura Eisenhower. I'm joined today by some very special folks, really good friends of mine, actually. Dr. Sharnael, Craig Walker, and Seth Leaf Pruzansky. And we're going to talk about the difference between religion and spirituality, and just kind of like really delve into, this kind of topic, and just really hearing from the minds of great, wise individuals here. And so why don't we go around, and if you could just share a few words about yourselves to give people some more familiarity, even though I know most people are very familiar with you that are tuning in today. But let's start with you, Dr. Sharnael, then Craig, and then Seth. And then, I'll start shooting out some questions about the difference between religion and spirituality.
Awesome. Thank you for having me and us, and super excited to get to know Seth a little bit more. I know you speak really well of him. My background is I've always been very spiritual. I did not grow up in church or any kind of religion at all, actually. Was having encounters on a regular basis at a small age, and wasn't until much later at 13 when I moved to the south of Louisiana, of the United States in Louisiana, where pretty much everybody is very in church, or at least was at that time. And so got kind of indoctrinated into some of that, and went to Bible school and seminary, and actually did ministry for years. Got some, had some signals and dis-ease going on in the body, went back to medical school and finished up a doctorate in naturopathic medicine. And, always been fascinated with the supernatural, quantum physics, creating. And, since a little girl, because of these encounters that I had, I was actually a part of some projects as a kid with Montauk and some other things. So there's just kind of a lot of things here to go into. But this is where I am. And now it's just about truth. For me, it's about love. It's about truth. It's about making all the right choices and bringing our best in this season that we're in, and helping as many people possible to remember that truth. And whether it's regard to health or mental or spiritual or physical, whatever the situation is, government, entertainment, education, all of those things. I'm just looking to be a vessel to bring service and love and truth in the best way that I can. And you guys are doing amazing in that. That's why I love all of you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you so much. Great. What about you, Craig Walker? Tell us a little bit about your background and maybe in the context of the show theme.
Yeah, contrary to what Sharnael said, I was born and raised in complete and utter Christian fundamentalism. I don't criticize that per se. We'll talk more about it as the conversation goes on. But, I went to Christian school from being age 3 to 16. So I had a Christian education, church every week. I'm a musician. I played drums in church from being a boy. Totally fundamental. Had an awakening experience several years ago where it was glorious and painful at the same time, and began to see the truth. And it highlighted many of the problems with religion. And I've been on that journey ever since. Sharnael's been a massive help to me on that journey. She's taught me a lot in what she does, etc., as well as people like yourself, Laura. I jumped into disclosure because, again, like Sharnael, I had a massive interest, always had an interest in the supernatural. So in the confines of religion, like angels, or even though they're seen as out there, but I always longed for some form of experience, not just a belief, but an experience. And that's kind of marked my journey my whole life. And I kind of, so I jumped into the disclosure and extraterrestrials, UFOs, the truth about governments, their involvement, all that kind of thing. And then, bizarrely, the former beliefs kind of linked in really well with this stuff, with regards to extraterrestrials and things. Again, we can discuss this as we go on, but yeah, I mean, I run a crystal shop with my wife, so I'm into that level of spirituality. Crystalfalls.co.uk. Yeah, I just absolutely love connecting with people like yourself. I consider myself a student. I am not a master at all. I'm always learning, always willing to learn, and I love listening to people's experiences and what they've got to say. And I'm absolutely honored to be a part of this discussion. So thank you.
Awesome. So wonderful to have you here. And what about you, Seth?
Well, first, I just want to say I'm honored to meet you, Dr. Sharnael and Craig. I don't know, the thing just cut out. Is that not me? You guys still hear me?
It's okay. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, all right. It cut out for a second, so I'm sure. Super honored to be here with all of you. Laura and I have done a bunch of stuff together, and I think we are at such an amazing point of time. And these connections of individuals that come together at key times are really, really something to look for. And I'm excited. So I just want to put that out there. Me, my background, I'm probably what you consider a dreg of society, right? If society was going to judge me, I'm a loser. I'm somebody who has been to prison, been through drug addiction, been through all kinds of problems. But all of these things were such, even as painful as they were such catalysts. They were such gifts because it gave me the opportunity to observe, I guess what you could call the core fundamental issues within my own perception of reality. And it also gave me the opportunity to observe other people and how aware of their own awareness they are. And so over the years, this just accumulated and it built and it just gave me a unique insight, I guess you could say. So that's really it.
Awesome, Seth. Well, just a little bit about me. Oh, man. Yeah, I grew up with a Catholic father. My mom wasn't religious, but he didn't really push it too hard on us. You know, we would go to church and I would kind of telepath with the Christ figure and just be like, what's going on here? I have some really interesting stories that took place when I was at church. I actually went to a convent when I lived in England at the age of 12. And it was a very rundown kind of convent. It wasn't like, you know, anything ritzy. And with a bunch of nuns, and we'd have to sing and sort of be in this sort of religious sort of energy. But I always felt spiritually free. And I, you know, respect religion and this and that, but I never really resonated. And I made that pretty clear along the way, but I was never really rebellious. I just saw a much bigger picture. I would kind of like reflect upon the greater history behind how religion even came about. And is this even in alignment with the Christ teachings? I would just question it all and question it all and question it all. And so it got me on a major path of curiosity. And man, I wish I could tell some of the crazy stories, but I don't want to take up too much time. But what was interesting is my father was a barrister in England and speaks 7 languages, was born in Egypt, very, very intelligent person. But he was so heartbroken when my mom and him split up that he actually became a Catholic priest and got permission from the Pope to be able to be a priest, even though he had children. So that was a really interesting thing. Him and I have always been close. He really never pushed it on me. He saw all these issues with the church and brought a lot of light to that institution and was always kind of like going beyond the limitations that religion can present, and has always respected my spiritual freedom and has been a wonderful father. You know, obviously I didn't live with him. He was at a rectory. It was very interesting to grow up with a father who's a priest. He's still alive and he's going to be visiting. But yeah, so that's kind of my background. And he knows that I don't go to church. He'll try and push me in that direction here and there, or like Kevin and I should be married in the Catholic Church. But the subject gets dropped real quick and we just focus on love. And he's a beautiful, very high spiritual being. But yeah, I don't see eye to eye with religion and dogma personally, but I'll leave it at that. So yeah, kind of on that note, what are your guys' thoughts? I mean, there are a lot of people that might say they're atheists or not religious, but there is sort of a religious programming that people unconsciously might be carrying on some level. I mean, what can you like speak to about the impact of like religious programming versus feeling maybe a sense of spiritual freedom? Starting with you, Dr. Sharnael.
I think that people just are where they are, and I respect people where they are. But the thing is, you don't know what you don't know. And so my biggest gift, I guess, is to helping, kind of to activate that curiosity. And, I said this earlier on another interview, like I was literally getting to the point where it was like, I don't care if you tell me Cookie Monster is my real father. Like, I just have to know like what truth is. And, sometimes like Craig had said, I loved how you expressed it. It was a bit, it was like, what's true? When you start unraveling what you've been told or what I bought, and then it's like, oh, please just don't touch that one. Okay, let that be real. Oh wait, no, let that be real. And so there's a bit of, I guess not pain, but it can be pain, like Craig said. But it's just like you start. For me, I think what it did for me was like I kind of felt dumb in a way of just like, oh my gosh, like, what else is there, and how did I even get to this point where I just, it's interesting because there was actual times during the whole process where I was questioning, like when dreams were bad, to talk about dreams or tattoos or astrology or crystals or music in the church, for God's sakes, or just even your gender. I wanted to be in ministry because I knew I wanted to be in service from the encounters that I had as a child. And for me, the way they explained it was like, well, you got to do this. And it was this pegged in, ministry behind a pulpit kind of deal. And, but I didn't have the right body parts for that. So I was completely exempt and could just marry a guy, who could do that. So I could be a part of the show or whatever, part of this whole, institute. But then it was like totally fine if you were in a missionary in China or somewhere else. So I started to, I was seeing all these like inconsistencies to what was being brought to me. And, I guess I was a little bit on the edge because it was like, I got a nose ring and they're like, oh, that's like, that's you're putting that to the gods or whatever. Okay, well, it's in the Bible that people did that and it meant something else. And like I would just always like bring up like what I knew was truth in comparison, and people, not always like that. And eventually I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna have to like depart and go a different, I'm gonna exit this matrix. And I love God, absolutely, because God is in every one of my cells, and I love absolutely fiercely and protect and security. Truth and love are everything to me. And so just having the courage, I would say, to look beyond what we've been told, having that courage and that curiosity, the courage to have curiosity in the middle of wherever you are is a main key for me. And, I love Seth's story because, whatever he's been through, whatever Laura's been through, whatever Craig's been through, whatever all of you who are watching, we all have our version of like, different parts of the journey that, cause an activation to know what's right and wrong and to know what a new perception can look like. Because when we have that shift, then we get a new reality. And so it's just Earth School, dude. It's just all Earth School. And I don't hate any place where I was. I don't hate anybody for where I was and who I was with. I am just where I'm at, and I love where I'm at. I love where it's going to take me. And I love being able to remember that we are creating this new Earth. And as we collectively remember that individually and then collectively, we get to do some really freaking amazing things.
Beautiful, Dr. Sharnael. That was awesome. What are your thoughts, Craig, about just kind of the lingering, maybe religious programming that might still affect you or what you might notice in others?
Yeah. I want to say at the outset that I think you made the point, Laura, that I've never left the teachings of Christ. What the church, the institutional church, has done is does not teach the message of Christ, basically. And I think that's why people like yourself who have a spiritual intuition can't resonate with the institutionalized religion, because it teaches this is the way. Anyone that disagrees is wrong and they're going to hell, basically. When actually the actual message of Jesus is, I came to mirror you in myself. He came to reveal to humanity who we really are. The church doesn't teach that. It teaches you've got to do X, Y, and Z in order to be. When Jesus says, you are, I am. So I've never left the teachings of Christ. But what I have found in having a spiritual awakening, that the teachings of Christ actually liberate you to really delve into the truth. It gives you the freedom to follow your heart and follow your path. And so, yeah, I don't attend church or anything like that. I haven't done for a long time because I just can't align with that system. It's so restricting. And so, yeah, in my journey, I committed myself. I want to go and talk to people who I've been taught to demonize, So I went and spoke to atheists. What do you believe? Why do you tick the way you do? Or I went and spoke to Muslims, like, come on, let's have a chat about things. And what I found was we all fundamentally want the same thing. And if I'm being brutally honest, if there's one group that I found who encompasses that, it's the groups like this. People like yourself, Laura, and Sharnael, and Seth, who are, you see that truth is all encompassing. And I mean, Jesus said, the truth will set you free. You know what I mean? So I love talking to people who think differently to myself. I love talking to people who see things differently to myself, because I think that's how we grow and that's how we learn. So fundamentally, I have a big problem with the mind control that is religion, because it restricts you and it doesn't liberate you into fulfilling your potential. It's very boxed in. And it's interesting to say that system is actually crumbling by the day. For many years, I don't know what it's like in the States. I know it's quite big there, but church attendance over in the UK is just diminishing, like, by the day. Not that people are becoming less spiritual or anything like that. It's just people are seeing this is crap. What is this? Why are we doing this? So yeah, I think the mind control is. I'm a pretty headstrong guy. I don't know if you've noticed. I can be quite stubborn. It's my nature, and it was very painful to admit I was wrong. So it taught me humility, to have an awakening, and to accept that people know better than me. And when you're a stubborn fundamental, that's a hard thing to accept. But true humility is an absolute. It's a gift. It's beautiful, because I could just sit back and listen now and talk to people in this way, and it's very, very liberating. Very liberating.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, man. What are your thoughts, Seth?
Well, I would love to first kind of start with what Dr. Sharnael said about we don't know what we don't know. And I'd like to take that even further to the degree of, do we even know what we think we know? Because when you take that back and you go to the roots, it's like, okay, first of all, even this language that we're speaking wasn't really ours to begin with, much less any language. So it calls into question all of what we think, all of what we believe, all of what we perceive. How much of it really comes from a place of empowerment versus not, right? And then you take into consideration, and Laura and I were texting each other a little bit, and I said something to her. When you think about it, the most priceless commodity, quote unquote commodity, there is human attention. And people don't think of that, because human attention is whatever you focus it on, you amplify that. Mm-hmm. And if you don't know the power inherent or innate within your own consciousness, you don't know how powerful you are. And so then to play off what Craig is saying, with all these institutions who maybe at the upper, higher levels do know the power of human attention, especially when you get a whole bunch of people focused on specific outcomes. Look at the shit, excuse my language, that we've been taught. Like we're being taught to be afraid of death. We're taught to be afraid of life. We're taught to be afraid of frickin', like everybody's worried about everything, right? And Dr. Sharnael said it, the courage, like that's the whole thing. They don't, okay, let's even stop with us versus them, because there is a part of all of this that is so perfect. I mean, there really is no us and them. Everything is so perfectly aligned in a way where here we are at the 11th hour of what appears to be happening in the world, where it's like we're left with no choice but to go in and turn the power on. And what is the power? What is spirituality? What is this energy? For me, all I know is like there's some invisible field of energy that's causing my heart to beat. It's an invisible field of energy. It's causing all these systems in my body to exist. It's way more intelligent than I am. And when I take this human attention and I focus on them and I condition myself to love it, I realize that that becomes like a skill. Because the more I start to love it, I don't know if it just cut out, but sorry if it did. The more I start loving whatever this invisible force is, the more I amplify the potential of that in me, the more the systems of my body start to just activate and turn on and balance themselves out. And I'm not afraid at all. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. Come on, let's get everybody together. We all deep down really love each other. We all want this bright, healthy, sustainable new world. But the way we've been going about it obviously doesn't work. So it takes getting into this place of radical honesty, right? And accepting, like, what do we know when we are going into all these, you could call them traps, or these distractions of the mind thinking it knows all these things, right? When if you just sit back, relax a little bit and breathe, all of a sudden you find that whatever this thing is that's causing the heart to beat, it becomes conscious that we're conscious of it. And then it guides you. And if enough of us start getting into that place where we trust our first sense, the heart, the intuition, then we're all leading together. And we're all, because we all want the same thing, like you said, Craig. Ultimately, there's very few who don't want a better world, you know, and they're just lost, and that's okay, you know. So that's my 2 cents.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm just gonna, share a few words. As far as like maybe the residual sort of programming that comes from religion, what I kind of notice is just a general kind of imbalance, infiltration, separation, patriarchal programming. A lot of it comes, through religion. Why is there such imbalance? Why are there only like male priests? Why is it so hard to be an empowered female? And I'm not saying that's all religions, but at least some of the main ones. And just how that sort of reverberate or sort of like ripples out into the collective, this level of imbalance. And when there's imbalance, to me, one's vulnerable to infiltration, whether you're an individual, whether you're an institution. If there's not balance and harmony, things can begin to, infiltrate. That's why there's a major underbelly to some of these religions and things that are going on that are very, questionable. So just kind of, noticing that and having a lot of questions about that. I mean, to me, like, life gives us exactly what we need to self-correct, to be on a spiritual path, to learn life lessons, to face adversity through the humility, like you were talking about, so that we can really live a spiritual life where it's a 24/7 thing, living a path of integrity, being a person of love, being a compassionate individual, allowing ourselves to pay attention to the messages that life is trying to show us. And to me, spirituality is a very personal and sacred thing, and something that we need to cultivate as individuals instead of experience through an institution, which has a certain sort of separation. If you don't, believe in this, then you can't really participate. You have to go through this indoctrination in order to be accepted. It's like, to me, that's kind of like defeating of what it truly means to be a spiritual being. I have a lot of respect for the good qualities of religion and how that can help a person have a moral compass and help them to grow. But I think there's a certain point in which we need to kind of break free of that, and honor where it might have served us, but to really serve our greater needs so that we can be a service to others, and be able to reach a more diverse humanity, and appreciate the diversity in oneness is diversity and harmony is true oneness. And like you were talking about, Craig, talking to different people, wondering what their thoughts are, not being limited to your own belief system, not trying to convert people. I noticed that some of the meanest people and the most judgmental are all about Jesus Christ. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, you're right.
What are your thoughts on that, Dr. Sharnael? I mean, have you noticed that, like, people, like, Jesus will save you and Jesus is the only way, and they're almost like mean and judgmental about it? It seems very off, as far as, the Christ teachings. And I mean, kind of take that question wherever you want to go, if there's other thoughts coming in, but just to kind of get the ball rolling of how people really build an ego and a sort of self-righteousness with maybe a particular religion or faith that they practice.
Yeah, I don't want to lump everybody into one, group, but that is definitely an observation that was prevalent in the circles that I was in. Of course, I met the most amazing, beautiful, loving people as well. But yeah, it was this whole very, and still can be, very like this way, or you're bad, or you're wrong, or you're humiliated or scorned or shamed, or and what have you. I mean, we actually did scalar waves on Jesus. Scalar waves on Jesus are the highest of any person on the planet. So Christ is great, definitely the Son of God, definitely an avatar. All that is cool. Whatever you believe, that's great. I'm just talking about science. Mary Magdalene actually had equal. So there's that, like, male, female, which rocked my world, because I was just like, wow, they don't teach that at church. But also, what was interesting is we actually tested the followers of Jesus, and also the follower and Buddha. We tested Buddha. He was in like the 800, 900, close to the 900s. 1,000 is the highest you can go. So Buddha was great. But the followers of like Buddha were actually way higher on scalar waves as far as love and enlightenment than the followers of Christ, which I don't like the word Christian anyway, because how do you, Christ or Christian means to follow something external, which Christ would never have liked that terminology, because his teaching was Christ within, hope of glory, right? But so how do you follow something that's already in your DNA? So when people are like, yay, let's wait for all these people to do the things or what this situation or this person to do the things, it's like, no, you're the one, we are the one, I am the one. So remembering truth, when people say like, oh, I'm just praying God does blah, blah, blah. Like, well, I'm praying you do that also, because God is in you. It's not about anything waiting. It's about us. So we get to remember the technology within. And again, I have like mucho love and respect for everyone's path and where they're at. And I've always kind of been like, okay, if that's where you are, that's where you are. And I'm cool. I gave up like soda 2 decades ago, but I didn't run around like everyone has to quit soda or you're the devil. It's just like, I'm like, I see someone drinking soda, I'm like, cool, peace. If they ask me why I'm not drinking soda, because my health and blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to go on this campaign to like make everybody think the way I am. I will present. I will ask questions if questions come to me with the undercurrent of actual love and curiosity, not with confrontation or fight, because I will not debate. I will not fight. I will not argue. If you come and there is a undercurrent of love and peace and just absolute seeking of truth and remembering truth, then I love those conversations like Craig was talking about. I'm there. I'm here. I'm there for you to discuss. And also, if you're going to come on my page and be like, this is stupid, you're the devil, this is a witch, blah, you know, like, is this biblical? You know, I'm like, yeah, blank, you know, just sometimes I will delete, depends on how bad it gets, spiritual hygiene. Sometimes I will present, and if I feel led, and sometimes it's just like I don't even answer. I just let other people like be the one. So it's just, you know, I go with where I feel on each occasion is you know, my requirement in those cases. But I mean, even yesterday, I just posted something about crystals, and someone was like, "Is that biblical?" And my response was, "Well, our freaking like ceiling fans biblical? Are airplanes biblical? Are you know, writing utensils and markers and crayon books biblical?" Like, what a weird question. Why do you ask? You know, it's like, so does that person actually use that as a baseline for everything that they use in their life? Like, what about Facebook? What about computers? Like, so are you just going to be in a cave somewhere with your Bible, and only the things that are in the Bible are you going to access or use or utilize in your life? So it's just weird to me, like how there's like pick and choose what is acceptable. Ceiling fans, totally fine. Crystals, not. I mean, this is actually from the earth. Ceiling fans are man-made. It makes no sense to me, but it's like I try to like answer in a way that's like loving, and also maybe open the door for a conversation for someone to sit back and go, "Oh yeah, you know, ceiling fans aren't in the Bible. Geez, I never thought about that. Maybe I should rethink this." And sometimes I get great responses. Like today, someone said, with my response said, "Looks like I opened a can of worms. I'm definitely going to do my research." And I was like, "Yay, good one." Also, you know, but versus like, you know, when they're coming back with that, and or just mean stuff like Laura was talking about, just mean. It's like, don't be mean. Like, just you're ruining the reputation of Christ by doing that. Like, if you're such a Christian, then that taking his name is a covenant for taking his character on and being the love consciousness, not, and being truth consciousness, not to be better and to look down and to, you know what I mean? Like, it just creates more division that's unnecessary, because as Seth said, separation is an illusion. We are all one. There is no separation. Every one of you are me. We're all just me. So even when she's arguing, it's like really me arguing with myself and just showing me that there's something still there for me to smooth out and work out and like transmute and surrender so I can have more room for God. That's me. But
Nice. Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, Craig, what are your thoughts? And maybe, you know, where do you see maybe religion mixing with politics? Like there's some things that kind of like end up in the political realm that might be based in religion or even the lack of religion and sort of the antichrist kind of stuff like we're seeing with the cabal and deep state and some of these agendas that are rolling out right now. What are your thoughts?
How long have you got? Yeah, I mean, the fact that politics and religion have merged is just so wrong. I mean, Jesus as a person completely exposed the political and religious system in his day. He was neither, and they both hated him, you know, because his message was love, and transcending that system as well. But in my observation, I find, particularly with the intense political situation we found ourselves in over the past sort of several years, people on either the left or the right create a Jesus in their own image. It's like Jesus would be a liberal, Jesus would be a conservative, or Jesus would wear a mask, Jesus would get the vaccine because he loves people. I'm like, you're all stupid, you're all ridiculous, you know. How dare we reduce Jesus to a political figure? How dare we reduce him to a religious figure? You know, the majority of Christians are worshipping a false idol in the image of a false image of Jesus. For that very reason, it's. I mean, going back through history, it was we just had a chat with Elena Danan actually a bit ago, and we briefly mentioned about how the Roman Empire was crumbling. There was a massive spiritual awakening going on. And so the Roman Empire under Emperor Constantine adopted Christian thought as the state religion in order to control it, because they were losing control of these spiritually awakening people. And so then that's where Christianity as a religion was founded. But Jesus never came to start a religion. He came to end religion. There shouldn't be a religion in his name, because he is the end of it all, according to his own teachings. So yeah, I get sort of wound up about this merging of I mean, not just Christian. I mean, you know, the Islamic State as well is a classic example. I follow a guy called Safi Kaskas, and he's a Muslim scholar who's translating the Quran to make it relevant to today. And he is an amazing guy. He does passages in the Quran and passages in the Bible and shows how they correlate with each other and how they're not supposed to be against each other at all. And I mean, I recommend people find him on Facebook. He's a wonderful guy, really enlightened guy. And he's a Muslim. And we might not see eye to eye on certain theological things, but this is where love transcends all that kind of thing. Because you know what? He is reaching out to Christians saying, we're not that different. Let's be friends, you know. And I'm like, I am so on board with that, you know. And he has some really interesting discussions on his page. And he's helped me overcome my own prejudices towards Islam and towards Muslims, because, you know, they don't all want to bomb us. They don't all want to kill us. That's a cabal manipulation. You know, certainly politically, as we well know, ISIS was funded by the deep state. They wanted to create a war in the Middle East, and they needed our support to do it. So they demonized Muslims and, you know, faked an attack on 9/11. Can I say that? And the rest is history. So, yeah, spirituality, I think, I don't know what's going to come out of what's happening now with regards to politics, etc., because both systems don't serve us anymore, particularly where we're ascending into. You know, Christianity is as a religion is just fizzling away because people are waking up, and it's not diminishing the teachings of Christ at all. It's actually, religion has suppressed the teachings of Christ because his teachings are so inclusive and so all-encompassing of everybody on the planet. We are all one. That's his message. His last prayer on earth was, Father, I pray that we would be one. We would all be one. And I believe that prayer was answered. We are literally all one. I don't care about your religious faith. I don't care about if you're an atheist. You know, we're one. And when I see you, I see myself. You know, this is the true Christ message, and this is not what Christianity teaches. So yeah, I guess to answer the question, this is where politics and religion have really, really harmed us as a species, and it's time to grow up and transcend it, and bring in something totally new. I don't know what it is yet, but I feel it's coming.
Oh yeah, totally. Oh, that's awesome. You know, and as you were talking, I was just thinking about, you know, most people growing up in religion, they don't hear about Sophia. They don't really hear about Jesus and Magdalene as a sacred union, like vessel, or, and that template within us that can be activated through understanding how to harmonize this within ourselves so that we can actually upgrade our DNA. And that's so crucial, and totally religion does suppress it. What are your thoughts, Seth, between just kind of like the two questions posed to both these folks? What was kind of coming through based on what you've just been listening to?
Well, it seems like the idea of crystals is really relevant to this conversation. So I love the idea of Christian Christ consciousness, the crystallization of human consciousness, right? But what does that even mean? Even that's theoretical. So when we talk about what the potential of the crystallization of human consciousness means, isn't the two main tenets of Christianity, and again, I don't know, but somebody, you know, correct me if I'm wrong, to love thy one God with all thy heart and soul and love thy neighbor, isn't that really like what it's all about? And those really, right? Okay, so though, but how many people do that, right? If it's that simple, why is everybody, if we're arguing, if we're doing all this stuff, it means we're not really facing our own shadow, which means we're not doing the internal crystallization work. What does that even mean? There is an internal alchemical process that we are responsible for engaging, initiating, and sustaining that comes out of loving whatever it is that is gifting us this opportunity to live. The more we love that, the more we amplify the presence of that in our being. And if we keep doing that and keep doing it, we have 98% junk, they call it junk DNA, unactivated DNA in us. In nature, there's a universal law, use it or lose it. So if a species is evolving and they're not using their DNA, it evolves out of them, but not us. It stays with us. Why is that? That's because when we get into this and we love whatever it is that's in us, we turn on new potential. We act.
Uh-oh.
Oh, you're frozen, Seth.
Oh, I was in a flow then. I was really enjoying that.
Oh, I know. Well, we'll definitely circle back to him. Once he gets back on, we will reconnect with him. But I would, people talk a lot about like new age deceptions, or they project sort of this like, oh, that's new agey, like if you work with crystals, or if you use the term Christ consciousness, or you love the earth, oh, you're a pagan. I mean, like, how can such sacred things be demonized and almost like a threat to religion or to even, people, where they don't even give something a chance or understand the healing properties? Like, what can you speak to us about new age deceptions, or your definition of Christ consciousness, or what you see with the demonization of the feminine, or the projection of paganism, or being a hippie? I mean, anything kind of coming through based on what I just shared. And we'll kind of move to that after Seth. Come back to us and finish your flow. You were frozen for quite a while. So if you kind of know where you left off.
It doesn't matter. I literally just start wherever I am anyway. But
it was awesome. I was really into it, and it froze.
Oh, no. Keep going.
Maybe I'm just too much. You know what it is? It's essentially, we have this organic technology, and Dr. Sharnael said that. There is this organic technology inside of us that we alone are responsible for activating. And when we do activate it, then the innate consciousness, which you could say is God, when it sees that we're willing to put in effort in our own growth, it meets us and it works with us. But it's not going to do it. We can't just be like, oh yeah, screw you, and oh, screw that, and oh, I'm going to live for myself, and oh, I believe in Jesus, so I'm saved. Really? Because I know a lot of people who are like that, and they don't seem to be living virtuous lifestyles of compassion, So what I've noticed is, as a result of being in these horrific situations that I was in that were great, I just did this over and over and over. I just went inside and I loved and I loved and I loved. And I realized how all the internal systems of the body are connected. And this love that I'm generating, that is a skill that we can all get a lot better at turning on and off, turns on all the other dormant aspects of our own perceptive awareness. And pretty soon, you're not feeling like this confused human that has no idea what's going on. You begin to recognize yourself as this crystallized consciousness that is online. And I'm not talking about the World Wide Web. I'm talking about the unified, universal web of expanding consciousness, the web of life. When you become aware of what it is that's causing this to be, you also become conscious of what has prevented you from recognizing that. And that is you becoming conscious of what you are resisting, right? Because what we resist persists. When we're distracted and looking at all these other things, we're not really doing the work. We're not going inside, and we're not creating this crystallized state of being, this Christ-like state of being, or whatever you want to call it. We're focusing on distractions that are very much geared to get us to take this attention and focus on artificial stuff. I'm voting for something different. I'm voting for focusing on activating all of this and inspiring others to do the same, because I've watched that disarm brutal predatory, violent people, it's completely disarmed them. Because when you are in that place of courage, of love, you are feeling the unlimited aspect of what you really are, not who you think you are. And you can hold that space to the degree where you're not afraid to live, you're not afraid to die, and you can be that in the face of anything. Those who are holding guns or doing whatever or threatening, it disarms them. Imagine if a bunch of us were doing that. Probably wouldn't take that many. Things can change pretty quick.
Nice. Thanks for sharing that. I mean,
Yeah.
it seems like there's like an underlying insecurity or something. I mean, to fight in the name of God, to go to war in the name of God, or to deny the feminine or any of that, and not like know that there's something very, very wrong with that picture, or just to, yeah, I mean, false teachings of Christ, but also false teachings of like the Marys and Sophia, not even bringing Sophia up, like she doesn't even exist. What are your thoughts, Dr. Sharnael? It sounded like you had something to say in light of what Seth just said. So maybe go there first, or whatever is just coming up for you based on some of the maybe themes I brought up just now, and anything you want to share.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talking about the junk DNA, Laura and I, we've talked about this a billion times in a billion interviews. And, you know, as a naturopath, you know, I love what Seth said about it's our responsibility to be responsible to activate those things and to activate the DNA. I mean, there's different ways to do that, but nature is a big part of that. Being in nature, there's so much code and activation in nature, and grounding and crystals and oils and plants and just being outside in the air and in the sun, and, you know, but minerals are huge activators. And what I've found is when, you know, I think they are changing the food, changing the air, you know, telling you stay inside, you know, all the stuff they want us to follow in this narrative to keep from that activation, to keep that DNA on the 3%. Because like what Seth said is, you know, when we awaken, he's correct. We don't just awaken to what's the truth, but what we believed as the lie and the deceptions there. And so, and then what happens is, as we activate, we're not just activating for ourselves, we're activating for many, because we are all one. And even studies have shown that if I don't know you personally, if I go and just talk to your 5 of your best friends, then I'm going to pretty much know who you are. And the more you hang out with those people, the more you become like those people, because the field will engage and emerge, and you just start taking on their code. And it's just science. That's what happens. There's that exchange. So, you know, if you don't like where you are, you know, get new friends, move on a new block, like go, you know, if you're curious, you know, step out, have that courage again that I spoke of, and go outside the limits of what you maybe thought was true. Or, you know, I'm not afraid. I am changing so quickly, moment to moment to moment. I mean, I've had people who will present, you know, this or this, and it could sound so far-fetched to me, and I'd be like, well, right now it doesn't resonate, but I'm not saying that it won't in 5 minutes, because I really am that loose with beliefs at this moment. It's like I have my main, you know, love and truth, and also nothing surprises me anymore, because it's just like there's just so much misinformation, and some of that is ignorance, like Craig keeps saying. And I don't mean ignorance like, oh my God, you're so stupid. I mean actual ignorance, like you are not aware of actual truth and fact. And then some of it is on purpose manipulation, control. So whether it's through different books or the narrative on television, or you know, the celebrity scene, or education systems, or politics, you know, whatever the thing is with the narrative, it's like this thing to keep that 3% down, even, or let's just, oh God, please don't let them get a 4%. Oh shit, like let's not get 5%. They might actually understand what's happening here. And I think they're a little bit crazed and, you know, nervous about the whole system, you know, just completely crumbling, which is why some people have a bigger, you know, realm or activator presence to be able to really shift some things. But I'm all down with just like everybody having, again, going back to that courage, and, you know, food and what we eat and what we drink. That is a major thing, because if you are just so convoluted with, you know, things that need to be detoxed, that crystalline body that, and this crystal right here, that is like amazing, that connects us to all, that connects us to source. If it's polluted by all the things, whether it's mental, spiritual, or physical, then it's more difficult to recognize truth, in my opinion. And the more that I have been conscious of, detoxing, whether it's people or food or drink or, my house cluttered or whatever it is, the more clean and clear and simplified, and then being in nature and connecting with that, it seems like there's a clearer path to not only hearing, but actually presenting without those fractured judgments on my own part to others, of just being like, okay, I'm good. Just, you think that, cool. It's awesome. Like, and good for you. And I support where you're at, and just love people in bliss no matter what, because you never know what you may say or do or be, and in your place of just being, not doing, but being, that can activate the Christ in anyone that we contact, activate the truth in everyone that we contact, activate the love in everyone we contact. And that's just kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm thankful for my journey. I'm thankful for all of you guys who are doing your version of that. Everyone watching in these beautiful comments are just, oh my gosh, I just love all of you so much. Craig, I'd love to hear what you got.
Well, I was just thinking, there was an echo.
Yeah.
Where's it gone? There we go. Oh. Anyway,
it's time to make some music.
Yeah. I was just thinking then, how as humans we're so prone to these attitudes of I know it all, because I jest and I antagonize, but like atheists, for example, atheism is a religion too. This isn't just about God. This is just about how we believe stuff and how we deal with information and make doctrine out of it. Because I mean, it's so easy to dispute and prove that a Darwinistic view of life is so scientifically, I don't want to say wrong, but it doesn't have the integrity of true science. And yet they'll go, no, you're wrong, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, you're doing the exact thing you blame the Christians or the Muslims do. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's almost like it's a symptom of programming, and it's the cognitive dissonance that we all experience, because we've all incarnated into this illusion that we call reality. And when you realize that we are the creator of it, we are the creator, the unified one creator is humanity. It's in us, through us. That's why I believe that everything that's happening now is happening, because that illusion is crumbling, and the dark powers that have controlled us are losing their grip on humanity as we are ascending beyond it. And religion is one of the main ways they have kept people in a low state of being, a state of dependency, a state of powerlessness. When all of these good people, even Muhammad to the Middle East and Christ and all these people have come to empower, that their message was one of love and empowerment. And now what I see is a generation of people like ourselves having this conversation, and all the people that are commenting and what have you. We are Christs in this world now, and we are here to raise the planet's vibration, and we're doing it. It's working. I find, in all honesty, more Christ-likeness in the, dare I say, New Age circles than I do in church. I find people more in tune. I'm looking at Seth there. You're just resonating, and I can feel it. I can literally feel it coming from you through the screen. And I think it's just bizarre to me how we've been so segregated into our little groups, and we're all being controlled to fight each other. And it's over. It is seriously over. No more separation, no more disunity, and it's just such a joy to connect with people and talk so openly about it like this. I love it. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, totally. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, that's totally where it's at. I mean, walking the talk. There's no separation. There's no programming. You see somebody for who they truly are. You see beyond the programming. We need to encourage each other to be ourselves and be authentic. To me, that is a really powerful spiritual expression, is to honor our uniqueness and our individuality, and have sort of this personal sovereignty be a prerequisite to unity consciousness, so that we can all be embodied in the divine template of whatever anybody wants to call it, Christ Sophia, the electromagnetic energies that are part of our circulatory system with the cosmos and the earth, and how that circulates through our chakras and helps us to clear out what doesn't serve us. It's a path. It's an everyday thing. So I don't know. Yeah. What are your thoughts, Seth? Anything kind of coming through that, anything that is coming through based on what these guys have shared, or,
Always.
that's kind of bringing up, just the projection on like new aginess and paganism, if you're connected to the earth. I mean, like you don't have to go in that direction, but what's kind of coming through?
Well, I mean, that's kind of like stories, right? We're so addicted to these, like I said at the beginning, this language that we're speaking wasn't really ours to begin with. So a lot of the things that we say in it are related to meaning that we've ascribed to external things that then reinforce who we think we are. And we keep going in these loops. Oh, this is that, and that's this, and this means that I'm this in relation to that. What if we're not any of that? And I want to relate that to what you were saying, Laura, earlier about this idea of war. Like, so many people right now feel like, all right, we got to fight. We got to fight for freedom. But guess what? That is an endless battle. Okay. You can win one battle, but guess what? There's just going to be another one right after. So the bigger question is, why even fight? Is it really about fighting wars? Because then we're just contributing to this.
Not again.
Oh man.
Anybody want to just sort of look at him? He's frozen in the very spiritual position.
That's funny.
I want to jump in real quick.
Maybe he's not Scots. Maybe he's just like having an experience like that.
Right.
I just want to say I liked how he talked about inspiration, because that word, and he keeps talking about word, and I'm a word like sleuth. I love to look at what words mean, and inspiration means to be in spirit. And if we can be in spirit, when we remember spirit within us, that's what can ignite and give opportunity for the igniting of others to be inspired. I think going back to the belief system and like holding on, when we do recognize, when we are awake and we start to realize and then present, sometimes people will be like, oh, and you try to have a conversation and they're like holding on to, like I think Craig had mentioned, like this fierce, like holding on to what they had been, seeing as right at the time. And it's so fierce at times that it's just like, I think it boils down to if we find out that we're wrong, that this idea that we hold on to is wrong, then that makes us wrong. And it's like hard to handle that. Oh my God, I was wrong. But for me, I don't give a care if I'm wrong. Like I have teachings that are way back, that I believed at the time that I've thrown in the garbage now. And I have come out when I realize that I'm wrong and saying, you know what, I believed this before, but I don't now. And I'm cool. And, sorry about that. I think as teachers, we have, more of a responsibility to be aware of what we're teaching and do a lot of research and dig in, so we're not bringing a bunch of people with us down off a cliff or something. But I think that part of that, like holding on to what beliefs someone may have is so, I don't know, like how dogma is an interesting word, because it's like I think of like pit bull, like holding on and clutching on with dear life, whatever belief system. But is mainly because if the belief is wrong, then that makes you wrong. And for me, again, I don't give a flip if I'm wrong. Like I'll be the first one to say I'm wrong, and I could be wrong about this now. I could be wrong about this in 5 minutes. I'm cool with being wrong. I'm cool with being presented new information and admitting, oh yeah, I was wrong about that, and just being okay, because that's, again, artful. Seth, did you want to finish? I don't know.
I'm
Great
so
work,
sorry.
Sharnael.
There's something wrong with the internet here, but I didn't want to come in off topic to what you guys are saying. So,
Right. Well, anybody, yeah, just jump in if.
then I'll say this: what Craig was saying about frequency, like you can feel it. We all are this. Okay, every single one of us is a living miracle. Every single one of us. The only reason why, like, I generate so much energy is because I realized that I can. And then I looked at my life objectively. I'm like, okay, I can focus on this. I can focus on that. Or I could focus on this. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm going to focus on this. I'm going to not watch the TV or the whatever, like, I'm going to do things that don't feel like they're serving me. I'm going to instead do things that feel like they are serving me. There's a great quote. It says, the power plant doesn't have energy, it creates energy. Now, that is such a real thing. And that's what I'm talking about. When you realize that whatever it is, this miracle that is allowing us all to exist, that's causing our heart to beat, when you start focusing on it, it becomes conscious that you're conscious of it. That magnifies that consciousness right there. All of a sudden, you're having an intimate relationship with what is giving you life. Then you're like, oh my God, this feels better than anything I've ever done. And I've done a lot of things that feel good. Nothing feels better than this. So I made another rational decision. I'm like, all the drugs, all the things, all the behaviors, all of that stuff that I was addicted to, including who I think I am, doesn't feel nearly as good as whatever it is that's giving me this opportunity to live. So the more I practice being in love with that, the more that love began to spread throughout every other system in and around, because our bodies don't just end with our skin. It extends out into infinity, and we are in alignment with the coherence of the physical and non-physical universe, but we got to create that within. That's all it is. That's all that I've done. And every single one of us is capable of doing that. And in fact, I feel like to the degree that we do that, we're just going to, no, you don't want to fight. You don't want to argue. You don't want to bicker. You don't want to say somebody's this or that. You're like, okay, let's come together because we already know that we love each other. We already know that we want the best for each other. We want a good world. Let's put our hearts and minds together and create solutions, because you know what? They're already there. And if we weren't bickering and going off on all these stories and belief systems that were never really ours to begin with, we just might find the solutions to the biggest problems and beyond. We're right there, right in front of us the whole time. We were just too wrapped up in who we thought we were to see it.
That's so good.
Oh, awesome. Is there any thoughts, Craig or Dr. Sharnael, or any questions that you guys wanted to like bring up to everybody that we haven't, discussed? Any sort of questions you want to answer yourself and kind of pose to the group? Either one of you, or?
Well, whilst I'm on, it would actually be a really nice opportunity just to say thank you to people like yourself for being so accepting of people that are overcoming religious control, mind control issues. Because what I've found is a lot of acceptance in these circles, and nobody's trying to stop me thinking what I think and believing what I believe, and that's what I mean. I find more inclusive love in whatever circle you want to call this than I ever did in church. Church was always about, you got to believe what we say, otherwise you're out, sort of thing, and so to come to a community that's just like, look, we love and accept you for who you are, whatever, you're welcome, be here as long as you want, it's very, very refreshing. and so, like I said, there's a lot of, I personally know a lot of Christian people who are asking the right questions, going down the right path, finding the truth, and they're coming to conversations like this, and it's really, really helping them, and it's helped me in over the years as well, things like this. So just a massive thank you for being so welcoming and accepting of recovering religious people.
Well, gosh, something came to mind as you were talking. The truth frequency. When we're aligned with truth, we can see through lies, which helps us to navigate this human experience. And with everything that's coming down in the world right now, with you know, the possible mandates and, you know, people kind of going into fear and panic and the masking and all this and that, I think it's very, very hard for them to see the truth because they're not really in alignment with that frequency. Any you know, and that's kind of what was really coming through as you were talking, is how important that is, so that if we could all do that, you know, we might feel a lot more empowered, and we'd be able to see the lies and deceptions from a greater reality that's presenting itself to us. Any thoughts, either one of you?
Yeah, I think it goes back to identity. What Seth is saying. You know, I have a friend that says all the time that there are two main questions that everybody is asking, and the first one, we hear this internally. It's like, you know, who do you think you are? Like when you step out and you do something, it may be external and maybe internal. There is no difference. There's no separation of, you know, when you do something and people are like, oh my God, who do you think you are? Who do you think you are? And at the same time, the real question is, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
And when we know our identity, when we know ourselves, like Elena had mentioned in a interview previous, know thyself. When we know ourselves, when we know who we are, when I know who I am, and I am that I am, and that is my truth, and that is my belief, that is my perception, that's what creates my reality. I am that I am. That's what reflects in, and that's what magnetizes back to me. And when you get a match to I am, oh my God, all caps, like it is fantastic to see the patterns that shift, the synchronicities that come, the healing that comes, the expansion of love and truth that comes, not only to me, but to everyone that I'm connected to, because of what Seth had said. It's an inside job. Everything is an inside job. My entire book is about miracles and how it's all about us, and not focusing, like he said, on trying to fix everything around us, but going inward and fixing us, like shifting us, remembering and being. It's when we shift us, we actually shift for everyone. It's not, you know, and I think part of the training in religion is we must go out and like recruit, or, you know,
Evangelize.
you know, like there's evangelism, and there's even like days of the month, of the week, that there's this, like, you know, you go visitation, and, you know, I even saw some comments here of like, it's our purpose in the States to evangelize the world or whatever. It's like, I understand where they're coming from, but it's not this outward like push. Otherwise, if you're pushing and you're having to force, then that is the definition of manipulation and control. And when we are pushing and when we are trying to force, then we're no better than the opposition, which is, you know, the lower vibration, the lie, the deception of pushing and controlling, and it's the definition of witchcraft. And so, you know, I am like all about living in love and being and living in my truth and staying as much as I possibly can, and just helping anyone to ignite to that and remember that. And Laura, I got to say, you coming into my world, you know, through your grandfather is a long story, but my life has not been the same, and I'm just so thankful for you and Craig, and now Seth, and, you know, so many people. And it started with me remembering, and then guess what? These people show up. Your tribe shows up, and you will be supported, because I am God supported. So when I remember I'm God supported, guess what? The support is here, because it's already here. Everything's already here. It's just when I remember it. It's just when we remember it. And, that goes with politics and everything. Is just being and remembering and making those action steps as God in us. I'm not saying I'm a God and I'm over everybody, but I'm just saying it's in our DNA. And we make choices as God in action to create new earth as we choose and our timeline. And the more of us, the better chance we have to have this beautiful tapestry of new earth.
Oh, that's so beautifully put. That's so awesome. Yeah, it's incredible when we're in this vibration of awareness and understanding we're multidimensional and expanding beyond the limitations of what we've been told it is to be human. Whether we're raised under a particular dogma, religion, belief system, whether there's ancestral patterns or certain programmings or political motivations that influence our choices and decisions. When we move out of the personality matrix and beyond sort of the ego and where these programmings impact us, we move into the soul and beyond, we're having a spiritual experience. We're attracting those of like mind. Synchronicities fall into place. Miracles happen, like your book so brilliantly goes into depth about. And that's what's so incredible, because like Craig was saying, I mean, this to me is like church, but way better. We're all on spiritual paths. We acknowledge our spiritual path. We're in service. We have missions, and it's a prayer in action. It's not just expecting something to save us and do it for us. We are a living prayer in action, and the beauty is, we get to find each other, and it's uplifted my life so much to have you guys in my world, like beyond. And to me, it's a reflection of something on a very high spiritual plane and level, because we live on a deep level of integrity with each other, and we hold ourselves accountable to walk that kind of path, and the mutual love and respect, we really can count on with one another. And we know what it's like to be backstabbed, let down, hurt, betrayed. And I don't get any inkling that I have anything like that to worry about with you guys. So I'm really grateful as well, and thank you for your kind words. And Seth, any thoughts, or you guys have any questions that you want to share that we didn't have a chance to cover? Just kind of opening it up to.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to also emphasize, hopefully it stays with this here, but even the dark stuff, right? Even the conflict, even all the things that we don't want to look at is spirituality.
Yes.
It's the way that we conduct ourselves in the face of it that allows us to become empowered by it or be disempowered by it. And it's okay if we're disempowered by it, right? But here's the thing, because if we are if we're seeing something that we don't like, or somebody, we judge it, or we see, or they're doing evil, and we're like, oh my God, to the degree that we allow ourselves to be stressed out by it is the degree that we give this miraculous power inside of us over to whatever it is that's disempowering us. But if we're like, okay, I don't like it, but I'm going to stay in this space and I'm going to observe it from this greater space because it's missing that. And if you do this, then you become conscious of what you were unconscious of, and it has a way of working itself out. And that's kind of the name of the game, is consciousness is this ever expanding phenomenon. And sometimes it expands into realms that we don't like. And that's when we have a tendency to like bypass or look away or do something. But if we just expand into it, trust that it's all right, know that this too shall pass, there's probably one of the few biblical phrases I know, then it does. It eventually passes. And the gift or the reward is that we then evolve. We become conscious of what we were previously unconscious of. And thus we're giving our power to it. And we're no longer doing that. It doesn't hold that power over us anymore. And so you said it, Dr. Sharnael. You said it. Like, we are uplifting each other by the exemplification of this. We said it in our own ways. And that's what we're doing together. We are literally, you can't fake this stuff. Like, you have to be a living example of it. And then you just practice. That's it. Sometimes you're really good at it. Other times you screw it up. That's okay. Forgive yourself. I love you guys so much.
And what you're saying, it creates such a safe and sacred
I could go on
space.
and on about
yeah. But it creates such a safe and sacred space. Oh, sorry, you keep cutting out.
Yeah, my internet's off, so sorry.
Oh yeah. Oh well, but you came in, and we heard everything that you shared, and it was super awesome. But I think that's what's so important, is creating a sacred space, because we're all here to heal ourselves, but there are people that can hold space for others to be able to do that through helping them to feel safe, grounded, and in alignment, and seen for who they really are. And Dr. Sharnael, you being a doctor, and you working with crystals, being a naturopath, and just all that you understand as far as the science behind miracles. Wouldn't you say the reason you have such success with clients is because you hold such a powerful sacred space for them to do their own kind of healing? And to me, being a doctor has sort of a very spiritual component to it. And when the spirituality is lacking, how is a person really going to heal in a doctor's office just being given a pharmaceutical? To me, you're like the real deal minister doctor, and the integration of both is really powerful in you. Do you want to speak to any of that?
Well, a doctor actually just means teacher. And that's what doctors were supposed to be doing, is teaching. So we're not like dependent on a person externally, but we're remembering what to do with responsibility. And so I don't like repeat people. I like empowering others to remember what to do on their own, create their own miracles, their own shifts in their body, restoration, wholeness, truth, love, and then they can go do it for somebody else. That's to me is a real teacher, is not creating a dependency where you need everyone to come back to you every week, or be on some medicine that's going to have side effects, or keep this ball going. But Craig, all of us are teachers, where it's just different. I don't know.
Right. And you as a musician, Craig, that's got to be a very spiritual experience, and like a form of kind of like maybe tuning yourself up or feeling just that strong connection. Can you speak to us sort of about just you as a musician and how that relates to your spirituality?
Oh yeah. Music is, what is it? It's just frequency. What is spirit? It is all frequency, everything. As a musician, it's how your energy systems react to it. People don't realize that when you hear a piece of music that makes you go, oh, that feels good, they don't know what's happening to them. There is a scientific reaction in their energy systems, and it unlocks trauma. It brings healing. When you feel that, like that chord change there was beautiful, or that rhythm's making me want to move a certain way. You know what I mean? You're having a spiritual experience. And these are things that we just take for granted, because we've got the music industry, and we all listen to music, and sometimes we don't really analyze why do we like music. Just to add to what Sharnael was just saying, I remember hearing once that the word educate doesn't mean to put in, it means to draw out. So you're drawing out of what's in people already, rather than putting something into them. And I think that's what all you guys are doing. I think that's what this conversation is doing, and that's what music does. It's to draw out what's inside, the divine that's inside every one of us. And yeah, sort of as a few years ago, because for those that don't know, I'm in a band called Nth Ascension. We'd written our second album, and we came into the studio again to write our third album, which actually turned out to be our last one, called Stranger Than Fiction, which I came up with the title because I was going through this experience, and I was like, the truth is so much stranger than fiction, but we came, and it was just like, we just couldn't go through the motions of just writing another album. We could have done it. We could have thrown some notes together and thrown some lyrics together and stuff, but there's something deeper, something that we're seeking to pull out from within, to release into our music, to be able to draw that out of the listener as well. And yeah, it's rock music, and it's not about taste. It's about energy. I could listen to classical music or jazz or heavy metal or rock. If it's got that energy on it, I'm there. you know. I think a lot of musicians are tapping into this, and all they know is it feels good, but they don't really know what they're actually doing on a spiritual level. But as we are all spirit beings, and we all respond in a certain way, you know, like, have you ever heard of guitar face? What guitar face is? You know, when you get a guitarist doing the solo and he's doing all this with his face, he's having a reaction to the energy that's in him, you know, and he's expressing themselves, you know. So yeah, if that answers your question.
Oh yeah. Well, I just think about like the subliminals too, and just how you know, there's a lot of tactics used by the deep state to alter frequency, to create stress, anxiety, and addiction, and just it feeds like lower emotions. And this is what I love about just when somebody's really in a high place of integrity as a musician, like yourself, because it's sound healing. It turns it into sound healing. And Seth, I mean, you got an incredible voice, and you're a musician yourself. And I know we all are musicians, but anything kind of coming through from what Sharnael and Craig were sharing that you want to share with us?
Yeah, let's start a band.
Yeah. Let's do it.
That'd be awesome.
You know what? Yes, rhythm, because it's all frequency. It's exactly what Craig said, but that heartbeat, right? That rhythm, when we all get into that rhythm together and locked in, that's coherence, right? And that's what I love about music is you could have 4 people or 5 people with all different belief systems, but if they can get their instrumentation and vocals, whatever, all in harmony, all locked in together, that is a form of coherence. And there's such power and beauty. And, you know, for me singing, I love singing. A lot of the times I just sing. I just let go and I sing, and I'm like, oh, it feels so right that it has to be, you know, it's that kind of thing.
Oh, that's so awesome. Yeah, you know, like people that do the kirtans, or you know, when there's music connected to spirituality, it just, you can feel it circulate through your whole system. It's so incredibly healing. I always find it so impossible to stand, sit, and kneel, and just singing some of, oh God, man, church. I don't know.
You know what, Laura? I am the church. These are my stained glass windows right here, and you know, I know you guys have your version, but I'm like, we got this.
That's so wonderful. Anybody, any final thoughts? I know it's probably time to close, but maybe we'll just go around and kind of everybody just share your final thoughts and words. What do you think? Starting with you, Sharnael.
Me, my final thoughts. Just I want everyone to go out and to remember love, to do the inner work, to take time, even if you have to like book time in the morning, to set it apart for yourself, you know, self-care, and just to reflect, get into nature, go outside, breathe the air, enjoy good nutrition, and you know, definitely if you're interested in finding out more about me, swiftfire.org, I have books and stuff. I don't know if you guys are interested in that kind of stuff, but I'd love to keep doing this. We have to have another show like this. This is fun.
I know.
Thank you for having me.
Oh yeah, it's so uplifting. I just feel, giving energy to these sort of things can you know, shift a person out of maybe internalizing stuff. I mean, it's a lot about inner work, but we want to share and express the things that we're discovering, and it's so important to really pay attention to it and set ourselves free. It's up to us. If we want the system to change, if we want to see the deep state and cabal be dissolved and taken out, we have to cut the cords and not feed it, and understand that there's a much, much greater connect that we can have with spirit and with the core divine center within ourselves and this earth to generate a beautiful reality that we can absolutely co-create. So that's going to kind of be my final thought. What about you, Craig, and then Seth?
Yeah, again, just massive gratitude to yourself, Laura, to Seth and Dr. Sharnael. You're all doing amazing work that has helped me tremendously. Seth, I've only met you recently, but I'll be certainly checking you out more. But if I could offer any advice, it's to be humble, be teachable. You know, there's nothing wrong with having beliefs as such, but just be teachable. In my experience, the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know. And embrace mystery, embrace the fact that we don't know everything, and connect with people, other people who will help you on your journey. And it's a wonderful thing to connect with people like yourselves.
Oh.
Awesome. Thanks, Craig. Thanks so much for being here. And final thoughts, Seth?
That was an awesome, like, Houdini trick you just pulled there, Laura. You just came back.
Yeah, I was wondering what was going on.
It just knocked me off. It was weird.
Yes, it was beautiful to gather with you guys. I feel all of you. I feel your heart. I really appreciate everything that each of you bring to the table, so much more than I could even express in words. And to the public, I just want to say to everybody who's watching is be aware. Right? Calm down, bring the stress levels down a little bit, and just don't get so attached to this taking sides thing that's going on. Because while everybody's so distracted, focusing on what they think is happening, what is really happening is just going right by us. Mm-hmm. And so the more we look at that or allow ourselves to be seen by that is a better way of saying it, the more we can harmonize with it, and the less significant all these things that everybody's bickering and arguing and all, the less significant those things are going to be, because we're going to be anchor points to be able to ground in something, a frequency, a miraculous state of being that will absolutely, if enough of us do it, override all of this stuff that's everybody's so afraid of.
Yes. Awesome. Wow. Great words, everybody. It's been so wonderful to share this space with you. I look forward to creating more with you guys and just sending you all so much love. Thank you for tuning in. And my website's cosmicgaia.org. Sign up for my Telegram channel. I have a new platform, Conscious Vitality. Craig, where can people find you, and Seth as well? And we heard from you as far as where to find you, Dr. Sharnael. Do you want to share website, you guys, or Facebook page, or like how can people?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I've got 2 accounts, Craig Walker and Craig Martin Walker, because I keep getting banned. Band is enthascension.com. I have a crystal shop with my wife, crystalfalls.co.uk. Go and check us out. Contact us. We're more than welcome. Everyone's welcome. Thank you very much for the time.
Awesome. Seth, where can people find you?
Interesting, my website has been down. I don't know why. But you can find my book. I wrote a book, I'm Awake Now What, it's called The Fight to Enlight, Initiation Through the Heart is the Only Way to Win. It's on Amazon until I get somebody else to pick it up. But it's not a book that I ever planned on writing. And it's just something that I put out because I was like, you know what? If I put out things that I would never want people to know about me, it'll give permission for other people to do the same, to purge, like Sharnael was saying, the toxic thoughts, feelings, behaviors, actions, the things that we don't know we're conscious of. It gives people permission to get that out of their system. And so I got to a point where I got beyond all of my past enough to feel comfortable putting it out there to inspire other people to do the same. So The Fight to Enlight, if people want to get it.
Awesome. All right. Well, take care, everybody. See you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.
Love you guys. Bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Thanks for showing up, guys.